Okay, so we actually just got some Splatoon 3 news in the Nintendo Direct. I was expecting Splatoon 3 there, but I was not expecting it to be Salmon Run. Now, I thought Salmon Run would come back in Splatoon 3. I didn't think they would get rid of a whole mode just because it'd be kind of weird with the story, but yeah, I just want to talk about it because I have some mixed feelings about this trailer, and I just kind of wanted to talk about my immediate reaction to this stuff. I did record me and my friend's reaction to the trailer, but it could pretty much be summed up by...
We get a fucking helicopter!
The hell?
Kobe!
Big Chungus!
So yeah, I'm just going to be looking through the trailer and talking about things that jump out to me. So first of all, we come in on a helicopter now, which is really cool and makes sense because the Splatlands is like a desert, so they have to travel further to get to the Salmon Run Islands, so they take a helicopter. And the new animations in the helicopter look really cool. I love just how kind of immersive and alive everything in Splatoon 3 feels compared to the other games. That's definitely like a big step up in every department. But then we get into the actual gameplay, and first of all, it's kind of weird to me that they actually don't ink the floor when they drop down. It looks kind of weird. I sort of hope they change that back to how it was in Splatoon 2. And then they start playing, and it pretty much just looks like normal Salmon Run. Then they show us the first new boss, called the Fish Stick, and I like this. This is cool. I like that you have to climb up the thing in the middle. It kind of forces you to do some interesting movement, or I guess you could just take it down from high ground, which is also another option. And then we have the Flipper Flopper, which is a weird name, but I really like how this one works. I think it's cool. It floats above you almost like a reverse Moz, and then it looks like it's basically like capturing a splat zone where you have to ink this area to kind of break off its mask, and then you can defeat it. I think that's a pretty cool design. But, you know, new bosses are kind of cool, but they don't really change the actual core formula of Salmon Run, unlike this, the Egg Throw, which I think is probably the biggest reveal we see in this trailer, honestly. This is the only thing that's really going to mix up the mode and change strategy and influence the map design a lot, probably. I think this is a really cool addition, and I think it will make the game a lot kind of faster and just more fun to play. It also looks like it takes ink to use it, which is interesting. I wonder if this will just be thrown with the A button, like a clam, or if it might actually replace your sub-weapon. Obviously it wouldn't have to because there's enough buttons, but it might just be a limitation of carrying an egg and throwing it. Then we get a really quick glimpse at what looks to be a flying snatcher, and this is cool because it's almost like the things in Mothership that you have to shoot down. Now, what's kind of weird to me about this is that there are bosses based on the old specials that are still in the game, like the Stinger. I get that these bosses still work, but it's just kind of strange. I almost wish they got rid of some of the bosses just to make this version of Salmon Run feel a little bit more different. Because, like, surely with Killer Whale 5.1, Stingray is not coming back, right? I mean, I hope. But speaking of that, we actually get to see some gameplay of it. And you can kind of see from this screenshot, there's this sort of octagonal laser thing that kind of looks like aiming the old Killer Whale, so I imagine this is kind of like the reticle or aiming system for it, and we see kind of how it works for the first time in motion, close up, which is cool. And we also get to see some gameplay of the Crab Tank. Now, we knew it had two different firing modes from the Return of the Mammalians trailer. It can kind of shoot out this big, almost like explosure shot, or it can shoot these longer range bullets, and we see here you actually press the right bumper or the right trigger to change between those, so that's cool. Then we get this kind of funky motion blur shot to show the egg throws, which is pretty cool. But rewinding a bit, actually, you can see in the shot where the Inkling is dodging the Stinger, it actually looks like they use two squid rolls in a row. So this is pretty big, because if you can use squid rolls back to back, I mean, that changes the movement in the game a lot. That would be big for competitive play. And this is one of the more interesting things, I think, in this trailer. One of the more interesting takeaways, because Salmon Run kind of still just looks like normal Salmon Run. I'm honestly a little disappointed at how similar this seems to Splatoon 2, but this new movement is going to change everything in the game, and the specials will mix things up a lot. So I'm hoping there's enough here that it won't just feel like the same old Salmon Run, but we'll see. But there is one final thing they show, which is this really big salmonid guy, and this is interesting. This might be something that actually changes the way the mode works, or is like some kind of super boss. Like, I don't know, if you survive all three waves, like, then you have to fight this guy, or if it's like a whole separate thing. Maybe he only appears during, like, you know, max hazard or like higher levels or something. And they're not telling us what this is, so that makes me think it is something that's like kind of a big deal, but I feel like it should have been shown in this trailer, honestly, because we're at a point with Splatoon 3 where Splatoon fans are excited for Splatoon 3 because it's more Splatoon. But to other people, they're like, oh, why is there another Splatoon on the Switch? You know, what's the point of this? What's, like, different about it? And I feel like Nintendo is kind of just showing us, like, hey, there's Turf War, again, and there's new maps and weapons, but to some people, that's not that exciting. I feel like they're kind of at a point where they gotta show us something totally new, like a new mode, a new, maybe don't spoil the story, but like the story's interesting, but we are just fighting the Octarians again. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's at a strange state. Like, I'm super excited for the game. I love Splatoon, don't get me wrong, but, the first trailer, it was like, wow, Splatoon 3, this looks so different. It looks like they're doing everything in a different direction. It's no longer in the city. Obviously, we know there are maps in the city still, but the first trailer, all we saw was Scorch Gorge. And it's like, okay, Inklings are in the wilderness now, you're like this weird scavenger with like a small fry companion. It seemed like everything was so different. And then Return of the Mammalians, they're kind of like, okay, but you're still fighting the Octarians. They're weird now. It's different. It's still exciting to get a new campaign, but I don't know. I feel like with each trailer, the game is almost feeling more like Splatoon 2, and that's scaring me a little bit. I think the game will still be different enough, and it looks to be a step in the right direction. Splatoon 2 improved a lot of things from 1, but also kind of got a lot of things wrong. Specials are just, like, generally less fun. I mean, this is, it's subjective, but it's a thing people talk about a lot. And it looks like Splatoon 3 is kind of getting that Splatoon 1 kind of just, like, fun vibe. You can do things independently, you can use, the specials are strong, and I really like that. But I am a little scared with stuff like this. There's enough here for me that I think it's cool and different, but I don't know if this is really going to make me, like, want to play Salmon Run again. Because I already, some people love Salmon Run. Some people, Salmon Run is the main mode they play in Splatoon 2. That's not really how it's ever been for me. And I'll get into why later, but I don't know if this is enough for me to really get super excited about this. And there's also some problems with it, because, I'm someone who cares about Splatoon lore a lot, and everyone has been talking about Little Buddy. People thought Salmon Run might not even be in Splatoon 3 just because we have this Little Buddy, this salmon who is a friend of our player character. And I don't know, it's kind of strange. Like, I hope there is an explanation for this, because it's like, salmon aren't, I saw someone describe it as like fighting a pack of wolves with your like pet dog, but like that's not how salmonids work. They're like sentient creatures. Like, this is not a pet. This is like a child, and you're like going to war with his people. Like, this is weird. I honestly thought if they did bring Salmon Run back, they might do a thing where it was like the, Nils statue from Octo Expansion started like leaking out the like sanitization stuff, and we got like sanitized salmonids or something. Like, even just something like that. Like, they wouldn't have to explain they were being like controlled by something, just like zombie salmonids. There's some reason that we would still want to fight them, but like, as it is, it's a little strange. It's a little weird that we're still fighting them when we have Little Buddy. And even like the end of this trailer, they show all the salmonid fighting, and then they show the like, box art new like main Inkling girl with Little Buddy, and it's like, didn't she just murder like all of his, like, I don't know, it's weird, it's strange to me. I just hope there's an explanation. Like, Splatoon devs care about this stuff. They, there's little explanations for every single thing. Like, in the art book, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, the reason it takes ink to throw an egg in Salmon Run is because it creates this like burst of ink. Like, the dually dodge rolls are like explained canonically, like, oh, there's like ink jets on the dualies that shoot out ink that allow you to roll. That's why only dualies can roll. Like, they care about the little details like this. And this is like a big obvious thing, so I think we'll get a reason, but I just don't know what it is yet. One other thing I want to mention with the big salmonid, actually, is it seems like the helicopter is like filming it, and this is probably just a cool effect for the trailer, but like, imagine if we got like helicopter gameplay. Like, I don't know how this would work in co-op, like maybe one player controls it and other people have like cannons on it. That's probably not a thing that's going to happen, but that would be cool. That would be a thing that would mix up the game mode for sure. But yeah, I mean, as we see on Twitter, Mr. Grizz is here. We're still collecting golden eggs for Grizzco, so I don't know if Mr. Grizz will play a role in the story mode. A lot of people thought he did. They had that sound effect at the end of the trailer. Like, everything seemed to be pointing to him. Like, I never really thought he was going to be like the final boss, but it seems like he's going to be involved somehow, and he maybe still is. He's somehow connected to it, but you're still going to have to be able to play Salmon Run before and after you play story mode. So he can't like die, or there can't be something crazy that happens with him, because they have to maintain that like canon simultaneously with Salmon Run. Because these are the things that they care about in Splatoon, it's the single-player canon and the multiplayer canon coexist, and it has to be like that, so I just hope we get something. And lastly, I just want to talk about some quality of life things I really want for Salmon Run that I kind of wished were in this trailer, or, you know, it might have made me a bit more hyped for it. Salmon Run is really fun. The core gameplay idea is really good, but there's just some, you know, Nintendo things that hold it back. Rotations are annoying. They kind of make sense for ranked mode, but for Salmon Run, it's just like, why? And like, there's only one. The biggest problem I have with Salmon Run is that there is only one map in rotation at a time. Like, that just makes it so more boring. Like, if we could play like 3 different maps at once, even 2, dude, like I would play so much more Salmon Run. It gets so boring to play the exact same map. I get that they want to have like the canon of like, oh, there's like a salmon run in this location. You have to wait for it to like be like in season, or like the salmon are on the move or whatever. But like, you know, the gameplay should come first. Like, I love that everything in Splatoon has like lore and an explanation, but the gameplay should come first, especially for something multiplayer. It should be open all the time. It should not just randomly be closed because they thought that would be cool for like lore. Like, no, it should be always open. There should be multiple maps. And honestly, I also think it'd be really cool if we could choose weapons. I think the weapon rotations for Salmon make sense just to kind of force you to mix it up, but if there was a separate thing, maybe like even just freelance is the random weapons, and playing with friends you get to choose. Because in local Salmon Run, you get to choose weapons, but you can only do that in the shoal, in local, and like, why? Why is that? There should be an option online for that. That's ridiculous. And a lot of people mentioned they're doing like an endless mode. I think that would be cool. I don't know, it'd be hard to keep that like interesting. Like, it would have to scale in difficulty pretty rapidly, I think. Also, it might be broken if it's like the same rewards, like you could just keep going forever. So some other Salmon Run mode would be cool. I don't know if I would like an endless mode, but something like that for sure. And that's pretty much all I have to say. I just wanted, like I said, to get my immediate reaction, just kind of talk about this a bit, because it's cool, it's interesting. Not the Splatoon news I was expecting to hear today. We still didn't get a real release date, they just said summer. That's nice to know. I mean, I'm pretty sure everyone guessed it was summer, pretty much, but yeah. If you guys have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.